What's going on, Show Nation? It's Movie with Movie Gaming TV, and in today's video, I'm going to give you all my hitting notes, all my hitting tips for MLB The Show 22. So what I do throughout the year is I write down things that I notice in the gameplay that can help me hit better. And the reason that I write them down is because otherwise I will forget them. And let's say I'm in a slump or something like that, I can come back and I can revisit these notes and get back on the right track. So this video will encapsulate all of these tips. So if you're in a slump, you have a friend that's in a slump, you can send them this video, and hopefully maybe there's just like one or two things in this video that you can take out and it can help you with hitting at MLB The Show. Now, MLB The Show's hitting engine as a whole is just not that great. The fact that it's vision instead of like an actual bat kind of leads to a lot of open-ended interpretation. If they're going to say it's vision, the player's vision through the PCI, basically any kind of result can be accounted for, whether it's off the PCI and it goes out for a home run or it's a perfect that goes for an out. It's just kind of the way that they have formulated this system. I'd like to see an overhaul for it, but there's nothing we can really do about that. What this video is going to do is going to at least try to put you in position to get more perfects to hit the ball better. And there's a lot of different random things that I have written down, so I hope one of these things can help you out. All right, so the very last tip that I have written in at the very top of the page is to think of the dot as a mouse cursor, and I like to do a small circle pre-pitch. I'll go ahead and show you my settings I use for hitting as well. I do not use the PCI anchor. I like to use the circles, basic yellow, 60%, and I fade the inner and outer. The reason I fade the inner and outer, and I like to have those on, is I like to see where my contact area is. I like to see where my vision area is, but I don't want those on the screen because I feel like they kind of clog up the vision of what you need to be looking at, which is kind of those dots. And also, I like when they fade out. That means the ball is about to be pitched in. But my first tip in the hitting notes here is to think of the dot as a mouse cursor, and I like to do a little mini circle pre-pitch that kind of makes me think of it as a mouse, and then I'm ready to move the dot to the ball. Now, my number one tip I would say that I've been really using lately is to try to see the seams of the baseball. And what you're going to do with this is you're not really going to see the spin, but if your eyes are focused on trying to see the red seams on the baseball, you're going to really keep your eyes on the baseball because, yeah, you can look at the ball and just think of it as that white dot, but if you're trying to look at the red seams of the baseball and trying to see those, you're going to be so locked in on the actual baseball itself. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. Just try to see the seams of the baseball. If you're trying to see the red seams on the baseball, you're going to blast the ball very well. All right, the next tip I have is all you need to be thinking as the pitch comes in is slight movements. And I also use the claw grip now. So a lot of people put their left thumb on the left stick, and that's how they move the PCI around. For me personally, I like to use this new claw grip. I picked it up from Zoe Gaming. Basically, what you are going to do is you kind of want a larger control freak, one of the taller ones, and then you use your index finger and you use your thumb to grip the controller. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow you to make a lot more like slight movements. You want to make very small micro adjustments with the PCI. You don't want to be slamming it to the edges, and you especially don't want to be dropping it down. With this grip, you're going to not drop the PCI as much, and you also are going to almost have a better batting eye because you're going to feel like if it's a pitch that you notice you're looking at the seams of the baseball, it's going way to the inside, you got your eyes on the ball, it's going to feel very strange to have to move it that drastically, and it's gonna make you just kind of like really not swing at pitches outside of the zone as much. So all you need to be thinking as the pitch comes in is slight movements of the claw grip and stay calm. That's another thing that's super important. I watched like some kind of like military video. This guy was giving like a motivational speech or something like that, and there's like one part of the training where you have to like go underneath the boat and fix something underneath the boat, and it's just like a completely, extremely hectic situation situation in the training, but if your mind is not calm during that situation, like you're not going to be able to focus. So say you have like runners on second and third, there's one out, and you need to get a couple runs across the board. You need to stay very mentally calm. You don't want to get too excited. You don't want to get too low. You need to stay very mentally calm while you are hitting. Now, my next tip is to not be intimidated when you are on legend. You are already perfect with your PCI placement on lower difficulties. So just put that PCI in the baseball and just keep the PCI in the middle and then a small micro movement to the ball. So when you go up to legend, it's like the PCI looks so much smaller and all that kind of stuff. But really, if you think about it, your PCI placement was perfect regardless. So another thing that you can look for is right as the arm is moving forward, you can pretty much swing. So we watched Greinke's arm, like right as it's moving forward, that was a pitch that was way outside of the zone. So I swung at it anyway for the sake of the example. But right as his arm moved forward, we can start to get ready to hit the button, if not hitting the button when his arms moves forward, especially on like the faster difficulty. So if you want to help your timing out, watch when his arm starts to move forward. Everything doesn't really matter. Arm move forward, we're ready to swing and turn on that high and inside pitch. So my next tip is watch the ball into the PCI and where that intersection point is between the PCI and the ball. And always swing earlier than you think you need to. So always swing earlier than you think you need to is actually a very good one too. And you're just trying to predict that intersection point. You're kind of watching the ball and watching the PCI out of the corner of your eye, and you're trying to just get that intersection point of where it's going to be. I cannot believe that was a home run. That is the vision of this freaking hitting engine to the absolute max. My next thing is sometimes like you want to play through the dot, right? So you have this dot that you have your aimer and you want to play through that dot. And a lot of FPS games, like say you're playing Fortnite, which I like to play a lot, you want to play through that cursor. You don't really want to look at your character. You want to play through that cursor. Now you can do that in this game. It gets a lot more difficult as the pitch speed goes up. And like I said, you really want to look at the seams of the ball, but you want to be having that PCI at least in your peripheral vision, or if you're really talented, you can play through the dot completely because that is what you control. More than anything else, you're just controlling that dot. Pay attention to the dot, is going to lead to success for you. So where should you aim on this dot as well? I find that the most success is going to be almost between the top dot and the middle dot. Like if you can hit it between the top dot and the middle dot, you're going to get the launch angle that you want. Some players are more balanced in the middle dot, just like it's bigger in size. Sometimes it's a top dot for a power hitter, but you kind of want to try to hit the ball between that top dot and the middle dot. If it's a bigger top dot, you can hit it right on that top dot, but then you kind of run the risk of like popping up the ball. If it's a middle dot, you might hit too many line drives and not hit the ball out. So you kind of want to go between that middle dot and that top dot. That's where you want to place the PCI. The next thing that you want to do is you always want to look for inside pitches because inside pitches are way easier to drive. There was a thing a long time ago where they were rewarding a lot of like late swings, and it became like be late, be great, almost to the point where it was like a meme. It might even be like a sound effect in the game. So what they have done to kind of compensate that, because MLB The Show loves to go 180 on any problem to like almost to like an extreme amount, is now a bunch of early swings are rewarded. You want to be on the early side of good. You want to be early with your swing. So if you are doing that and it's on the inside half, that's usually a good thing. Like pitches on the outside, like this pitch is very difficult to drive compared to like a pitch on the inside that you can turn and burn for a home run. And they also have different settings for the hitters. There's a lot of like pull hitters in the game versus like, it's very rare to have like a push hitter. They're either usually a pull hitter, extreme pull, or they're balanced. So they're going to be able to drive the ball more if it's on the inside half. I like to pitch to the outside half a lot in this game and then mix it up maybe with like 2 strikes a lot of times on the inside, because it's just so difficult to stay back and wait back and actually drive the ball on pitches that are on the outside half. So you're kind of looking in these first 6 boxes, the middle 3 boxes, and then the boxes on the inside to actually get like good exit velocity. That's where you want to be kind of like hoping that the pitch goes, I feel like, a lot of the time. And then, like I said, swing earlier than you think you need to swing. Another timing mechanism that you can use is to watch the pitcher's front foot land. Once the pitcher's front foot lands, that's pretty much when you can start your swing. You also can use this when you are pitching. If you watch that front foot land, that's when the ball is about to be delivered. It's just a very good timing mechanism. So Greinke's foot lands, and then I can swing out. I know it's a ball, but I'm just trying to show you for the video. front foot lands, you're pretty much ready to swing. So you can kind of lock in on the ball, the front foot landing, the PCI. There's a lot here, but that can really help your timing as well, especially if you go on like a faster difficulty. That foot lands, like you're going to be ready to swing. That's kind of like the timing of like when you can kind of first start the button, or if you're having a lot of trouble like getting an early swing to go, you're just late on everything, just like start to swing right as that front foot lands. You smash the ball. And like I said as well, I mean, if you're pitching, like right as that front foot lands with the pitcher, say they got like a really long motion or something like that, right as that front foot lands is when you can push the right stick down on the pinpoint to throw a perfect throw a lot of the time. Now, the next thing that I want you to think about is something that Barry Bonds talks about actually with hitting. I saw this interview with him, and this is kind of like outside of maybe your control at MLB The Show, but it's something that you want to think about. And this is like the perfect thing to have in the notes to go back, because I have not thought about this in a while. But you want to focus on hitting the sweet spot of the bat. You don't want to hit it off the end of the bat. You don't want to hit it off the lower part of the bat. You want to barrel it up. So just kind of think about that with your timing of X. You know, just he was always trying to barrel it up in this certain spot. I'll see if I can find the clip that he's talking about and put it in the video.
I don't care if you throw 100 miles an hour. I don't care if you throw 120 miles an hour. There's a catcher behind home plate, and that catcher catches that ball every time with a glove. Only thing I did was change the object from glove to a bat. And all I gotta do is catch it.
And where was your sweet spot right here then in this bat?
I was always right here. It's always right in this zone.
Right there in your area.
Right there.
But
I don't like this. I don't like this. I like right here.
Right there. That's the barrel right there.
And I practice that every time in the cage. And if those marks are anywhere here, my technique is off.
But something about just thinking about that kind of helps my timing in this game for whatever reason. And that's like what you want to visualize, getting the bat to the ball at that time and trying to barrel up the pitches. And then even right there, I just took that pitch that was way outside because I'm thinking like there's no way I can barrel that up on the sweet spot of the bat. Another thing that's going to be key is to flip your mindset. Like you're always in control of your mindset, and mindset is so important. Let's say that you've been getting screwed all game. You still might lose the game, but you can at least try to control your mindset the best that you can. If you start to get into a really negative mindset and you're looking at everything like from a really negative perspective, it's going to be so difficult to stay calm and to stay focused. You have to keep reflipping your mindset to the point that you're just like looking at it positively. You got to move on to the next pitch, the next play as much as possible. Much easier said than done because we're all human. It's very difficult when you're just getting like completely screwed over in a game to just move forward, but you got to maintain a good mindset as much as possible. The next tip is that crosshair placement is just so key. I mean, just where you're placing the PCI is going to dictate everything. We've talked about it a little bit, like of playing through the PCI, but you can see how off I was on that one. Most of the time, it's just not going to be good. You have to get that PCI in the ball. Very simple thing to say, but it's really important. You need to be focused on that. You don't just want to be going through at bats, going through swings, and like not getting that dot on the ball. I think that's a very simple tip to articulate, but it's very important. See, we got pretty dang good placement right there. We were able to drive the ball. The next thing that I would say to do is to practice on the toughest difficulty. I think the most fun way to practice in this game is to do mini seasons and just play on legend, because who cares if you win or if you lose? One of the strangest things in this game is you can be playing a ton on rookie and then all-star feels like it is so fast. It feels like it's impossible to hit on. And then it's weird because you can go to legend and then you can come back to all-star and you'll put up like 22 runs in a conquest game because it's so drastic. It's kind of whatever you get used to. You really want to overtrain so that when you come back to the game, it's real easy. So if you like to play events or you like to play BR, just consider doing a mini season on legend. You really have nothing to lose. If you lose, you lose, but you're going to get more and more better. You know, you're going to be better in game 5 of it than you were in game 1. And you can use your entire team also. So you can use your entire Diamond Dynasty team to practice with everyone's swings, to practice some of your pitching and stuff like that. I think that's the best way to go about practicing, but you want to practice on the toughest difficulty. Now, this is kind of a random tip. I don't use this a ton, but what you can do is you can use both sides of the mound to determine if it's going to be in the zone in conjunction with the strike zone. So you'll see that box of the strike zone beforehand, and it kind of, if the ball looks like it's going to be on the edge of the mound, like over here, then it's going to be a ball. So you can kind of like visualize that box and the mound to see if it's going to be a strike or not, because that's the number one thing. You have to have really, really good plate discipline. Actually, one of the more boring things I think in baseball is taking balls and taking walks, but it's so important to not swing at everything. I mean, you just cannot do that. You're going to lose doing that. So picking up the location of the ball and whether it's going to be a strike or not is very key. Start memorizing those patterns mentally. You're going to be able to pick up when it's like a hanging slider in the middle, like really, really easily, like that cutter. Like you can just kind of see that pattern. And the more and more that you play this game, you're going to recognize those flights of the ball and just kind of notice where it's going to go. And you can always use those when you're pitching with pitch tunneling and stuff like that to your advantage as well. So maybe with this new Kerry Wood that's coming out in extreme moments, maybe you're going to throw a high and inside fastball and you're going to tunnel that off of a slurve low and away. And the next thing that I would say is you need to dictate the pace of the pitcher when you're in the box. So for me, I like to pitch really, really fast. Something that would really throw me off is if somebody holds R2. And it's kind of the same thing when I'm hitting. I like to get into that rhythm of hitting when they're just pitching really, really fast to me. Like I don't like when they delay and take their time when they're throwing to me. I like it to be rapid fire. And when you're playing against someone that's really good, you do kind of need to mix up how fast you are throwing the ball. There's one big mistake that people make that when I'll go into an events game and maybe I have a really good game against somebody, you cannot throw them all strikes to a good player. You cannot just go really, really fast with your pitching and throw all strikes, because what's going to happen is it just becomes like PCI aim-a-thon for somebody that's really good, and they're just going to be able to swing, and they don't have to like think in the back of their mind, is this going to be a ball or a strike? And they're just going to move the dot to the ball over and over and over again. You need to control that pace though when you are at the plate. If they're going way too fast for you, you can call time, you can hold R2. I hate R2. I hate that it's in the game more than anything. I got to say that. I wish it was not in the game, but you can use it to your advantage if they're going too fast. Or what I will do sometimes is if they are going too slow, since you can only call timeout once. You can only call a timeout once in a bat. You used to be able to call it all the time, but they took it out of the game because it would make the game freeze, like, I don't know, about 4 or 5 years ago. And we're still on that same build, so they only keep that one time per at bat. But if they're taking a long time, that's when I will use R2. I will hold it for a little bit longer. I might hold it. I would say I have to use this maybe like once every 20 games, but like once every 20 games, somebody will just really, really take their time pitching to me, and I will use R2 because I cannot throw up my hand to call timeout. So it can kind of help your timing. And when you're hitting, you want to dictate that pace. The same thing when you're pitching, because it's all about getting them out of rhythm, and you want to stay in that rhythm, if that makes sense. Another thing too is you want to try to like hit the ball maybe like a foot in front of the plate. If it's on the outside, you kind of want to hit that like when it's over the plate. But if it's on the inside or down the middle, you want to be focused like on making contact when the ball is out in front of the plate. That's where you're going to get a lot of perfects. You kind of want to be a little bit out in front of like where you visually represent the plate when you're playing the ball. This kind of goes into that thing I was talking about with like Barry Bonds and hitting on the barrel. Just try to hit the ball out in front of the plate about like 1 to 2 feet. The next tip that I have is hit pitches in the middle column. Focus on the 3 main columns. That's where you're really going to drive the ball as well. We talked about the 6 on the inside, but anything in the middle, you can get a lot of. That was a perfect example. Anything in the middle really gets great exit velocity with how they have made this game. Like, I feel like you can be off it almost completely, but if it's down the middle and you have good timing, they're going to reward you with a home run a lot of the time, especially if a player has like a lot of quirks and stuff like that. The next tip that I have for you is to be physically relaxed when hitting. Physically don't tense up and light button presses. This is something I struggle with a lot because like I move my body around a lot. I move my eyes around a lot. If you can just relax your eyes, light button presses, that's going to help you make better inputs because you're not going to be moving around a whole bunch. You just need to be like real calm. I can't stress how important that is. In any video game that you play, you want to be very, very calm in those situations. You don't want to get too tense physically or anything like that. You know, finesse it a little bit. So that's pretty much everything I have in these hitting notes. I hope that they can help you out. I have been enjoying the claw grip. I know it's going to work well on the lower difficulties because the PCI is bigger. I still have to practice it more and more on Legend. But yeah, I hope this helps out. I mean, maybe there's one thing in here that you can kind of take away that will help out your game. Or if you ever need to revisit this video, just come back to this video, put it on while you're playing like a conquest game, and like listen to this stuff again, and you're gonna pick it back up. Because what happens is it happens to me all the time. I don't remember, I don't think about it. Like the one thing I'm really thinking about right now is just trying to see the seams of the baseball. That's, if I'm locked in on trying to see the seams of the baseball, I'm good. Small micro adjustments with the PCI. You know, small micro adjustments. Play through the dot of the PCI. See the intersection of the PCI to the ball. Especially if you got to deal with these extreme moments, you know, you need a lot. This is just some things for you to think about. So I hope this video helps out. Thank you so much for watching. I've got a couple new videos up on the channel. I kind of gave my reaction to Willie Mays and Cole Hamels joining Diamond Dynasty, and I've got a video revisiting my old Diamond Dynasty teams that you can check out. You know, think about when that pitcher's foot lands too, man. Think about when that pitcher's foot lands when you're trying to pitch. It's very, very helpful, especially with somebody like Kyle Newhouser. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, peace.